From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Hixson, joined by my dear friend over the phone.
And don't forget, on the road as usual, because I have been given the actual name of the king. You know how you have Michael Jackson as the king of pop? Well, I have been given the crown of being the king of the women, because I got a good whip and I got a good tongue and I can kiss them all the way down. Secondly, they call me the king of CTV because I have the best show on there. Because you forget to acknowledge that next time you acknowledge me, please acknowledge me as the greatest, like they did with Joe DiMaggio. And what's his name from wrestling? But this is the hottest, baddest, sexiest man on cable access TV. Yours truly, Hector Bosa. So,
Are you done?
Am I done?
Are you
Well,
done?
I wanted. Well, as long as you acknowledge me that I'm the greatest, then fine. Next time,
I'll acknowledge you as a
soliloquy.
complete idiot who thinks of himself as God's gift to women when he's not. That's how I'll acknowledge you.
I am the hardest, the baddest, sexiest man on cable access.
You are the
going on right now.
softest, the doofiest, and
Yes.
probably the most embarrassing
Yes. You see, anybody
person
that talks
that
like
anyone
is
could ever come
jealousy.
across.
Anybody that talks that way is because it's jealousy. So I
I'm
understand
not
if you're
jealous of
That's like
you. I am
Speaking of being
speaking a
jealous.
truth.
that. I wanted to ask you a question.
What is it?
Who wants the Mets job?
It doesn't sound like anybody's lining up to interview for that job.
Because it's them and I think the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, the Mets and the Padres
similar.
have job openings now. And I already know that the Padres are interviewing the man who was recently fired by the Cardinals, Mike Schultz.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Is it worth it? I know people want to manage, but is it worth managing in those baseball cities, considering what they've done with them in the beginning?
I can tell you right now, San Diego is so much more attractive than New York. And I'll give it to you for two reasons.
Their GM and their contracts
Yeah, but
have been something else. So how do you manage a team where because you have Manny Machado out there, you got a huge contract. And there's a lot of teams out there that have huge contracts. Look at the Yankees. With
be that as it may, there's still the potential to manage a really good team in San Diego. Unfortunately, they fell by the wayside the last 2 months of the season, but there's still the opportunity to manage guys like Manny Machado, like Fernando Tati, like Yu Darvish as well. Plus, there's the opportunity of living in a really pretty city like San Diego, which has miles upon miles of beaches and some of the nicest people that you'll ever come across, some of the most chill people that you'll ever come across as well.
Yeah, but again, how is the manager and how is the person that owns the team, has he done anything? And has he overpaid for players?
He might have overpaid. He definitely overpaid for Manny Machado, that's for sure.
But again, what has he done to say, okay, I want to besides the living conditions. What makes you want to play for the team? I mean, manage the team. What
I
is
think
it
I
about
just
that team?
mentioned
Because
some of the
remember,
players
you're
that
in
are
a
on there.
very healthy division.
I just mentioned some of the players that were on there.
Yeah, but what have they done?
Well, Thati overall had a really solid season. Machado had an okay season, but it wasn't groundbreaking, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Darvish,
And
unfortunately, was a bit of a disappointment this season.
exactly. Now you're hoping that he bounces back like most people do. Most people bounce back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, considering the team, how do you see the team, depending upon who they get for free agency next year? Because that's another thing. Who out there who's a free agent for next year?
We'd have to
That,
see
let's say,
exactly
they can get
what names are
the
going to
Mets
be
can
released
get,
because we don't know yet.
or even the Yankees, or any other team right now. Who is out there right now that you
That's
you
offering a
more or less
manager's
know
job,
that
you mean?
they'll play for that team?
Are you saying who's out there that's going to offer a manager's job?
The manager's job, and also as players. Why? I mean, why would you want to play for San Diego that has a decent team, but it still doesn't give you the oomph of, okay, well, you mentioned three players, 4 players, but after that, what happens next? Do you see them? Because how many times have they made the playoff?
You mean the
Within,
Padres
let's say,
overall?
the first 5 years, the first 5 or 10 years, let's say.
1984, 1995. No, not 1995. 1984, 1986, 1996 rather. 1998, 2005, 2006. Then there was
Okay.
last year.
And within that time frame, how many times did they go all the way? And how many times did they get at least to the final dance?
84 and 98 were the only times that they won a pennant to get to the World Series.
Exactly. And then the rest of the time, they haven't done so well, even with the players that they have. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the mighty Miracle Mets.
The only miracle I'm going to see from the Mets is them hiring an actual manager, because at this rate, I don't see any names being connected to that team, except maybe Joe McEwing. And
Joe McEwing, you think he'll be the manager next year?
It's possible. I mean, his name has been connected to the manager's job for years. Not only that, but he's also a fan favorite.
But it all depends who they pick as a GM and a player's manager.
That's the thing. They want to hire a president of baseball operations first before they hire a manager.
Exactly, right here. You're right. And that's the thing. Who are you hiring?
Who are we hiring? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Let's see who the GM or the president of baseball ops is first before we know who the manager is.
Well, that's the thing. Who would you? Because remember, now you got to figure. All right, now who am I hiring? and who's going to be their players, whatchamacallit,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to be their GM, is the guy from Boston or Billy Bean coming out of retirement? I mean, who?
Oh,
Because
I just
remember,
heard
it's one
that.
of those guys that's going to decide.
I just heard
Who's the
that
next
Billy Bean
manager?
decided to take himself out of the running for the Mets job.
Who said that?
Billy Bean did.
Okay, then you got the guy from Boston.
Are you talking about Theo Epstein?
Yep.
Well,
He's
last
in the
I checked,
running,
he was in Chicago,
supposedly.
but he decided to take himself out of the running for that job too,
For the Chicago one
for the Mets job.
or for the Mets one? Then I don't know, because you really needed someone like that. I mean, remember, it's the manager that always hires. It's the GM. No.
Something tells me that the reason why Theo Epstein and the Mets decided they weren't a good fit was because of Epstein's philosophy in regards to what kind of players he wants.
What do you think the kind of players that he wanted?
If I had to guess,
Yeah.
he probably would have wanted somebody along the lines of a Kevin Millar, or maybe a Pedro, or maybe a Johnny Damon, or maybe if
Johnny
you look
Damon's
at
still
Chicago.
playing?
No, Johnny Damon retired.
Oh, I was going to say, he's coming out of retirement?
No. His playing days are done. Anyway, or if you're talking players like the Chicago Cubs, maybe Jason Hayward, maybe Anthony Rizzo, or somebody of that ilk.
That being said, like I said, who do you think is up for the GM job? Who do you think is up?
Who's up for the GM's job? I couldn't even begin to tell you, because now that the two most popular names have decided to take themselves out of the running, we really don't know who's out there now. But I will say this, whoever takes over that job,
All right.
they got a lot of work to do, because they have to decide whether they think that Michael Conforto is worthy of a max contract or not. And they also have to...
Is he?
I think that he can get himself a really fair offer somewhere, whether it's with the Mets or somebody else. Maybe in the area of 5 or 6 years, and maybe 15 to 20 million. So that's probably something that.
I'll tell you. Yeah. Nah, because figure it. You have to hire a GM before you hire a coach or a manager. Why? Because if you hire the GM, if you hire a coach first, let's say Buck Showalter, and he doesn't get along with your GM, most of the time your GM and your player person, I mean, they haven't filled those positions yet, especially the player personnel one. So this is why, should myself as a Met fan, do you see a problem? Is there a safe bet where you could say, you know what, the Mets, they'll be okay because I'm sure they'll do the right thing, and the owner will finally get his act together and do what he has to do? Because everybody was betting on this guy to open up the bank book and get all the players in the world, be the next George Steinbrenner. And he's not doing that yet, is he?
No, not yet.
Or he hasn't had the opportunity to do.
It could be that.
And go ahead.
I'm saying it could be that, but I don't see anything else that's helping the Mets along their way.
Hold on.
And it's not just Michael Conforto either. It's the pitching staff. What's going to be of Noah Syndergaard? Who's going to join Jacob deGrom in that 5-man rotation? What are they going to do with the bullpen?
Well, that's the thing. If you don't sign him, it's Jacob deGrom. The best you can do with him is sign him for a year, or at least 2 to see how he works out. 1 year, and then with an option, because the way his health has been. Mm-hmm. And then, again, who's out there? Who's out there, and who wants to play for New York?
At this rate, it's a question.
Who's out there, and who wants to play for New York? That's the thing. Who's out there, and who wants to play for New York?
No. At this rate, it's not a question of who wants to play for New York. It's who wants to play for the Yankees or the Mets.
And also, here's another one to think about.
Mm-hmm.
New York Yankees. You keep Boone.
Like I said, keep him for 1 more year.
Well, I don't know why. I mean, the thing is, who's out there? Who's out there that could get them over the hump? Because Boone has gotten to the playoffs, but he never gets into the World Series.
Yeah.
Who doesn't get him over that hump?
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, you got a bloated contract, as I said before, in Carlos Stanton. That's a big contract that you have there.
He had a very good season this past year.
Oh, he did well because he played out in the field, I think.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that you have all these players. You have all these players out there right now. I'll put it to you like this. Would you rather pay for the Yankees or would you rather pay for the Mets?
I'll tell you what.
Right now. Because who do you see more organized? The Yankees.
The Yankees are slightly more organized.
Forget that they've won 27 championships or 28. Forget that. I'm just talking about in general. They get what they need to do. But can you say the same for the Mets?
As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of questions, not just 2 or 3, that need to be asked regarding this team. Well, Stanton's not going anywhere. He's going to be either the designated hitter or he has a chance to be the right fielder. That's number 1. Number 2, what are you going to do at first base? Who's going to play first base for them? Is it going to be Luke Voigt or is it going to be Anthony Rizzo? Anthony Rizzo played some pretty good baseball for them the last 2 months of the season. What's going to be a shortstop? Who's going to play there? Is it going to be Gleyber Torres or is it going to be somebody else? What about second base? Actually, going back to shortstop for a bit, I heard rumors that the Yankees might even consider Gio Urshela to play shortstop. Maybe give him a few reps there. Well, we're going to have to wait and see on that.
Well, that's another thing, too. Who do you sign up? Do you sign Gio Urshela back? What do you do?
Gio Urshela has done nothing but play great baseball for them. obviously we would want the Yankees should bring him back.
Well, this is the guy that everybody counted on. I mean, Luke Voigt. They want what's his name? The guy that was hot last year, LeMahieu, to play first base.
Yeah.
Because the other guy who's 32 years old, he wants a huge contract.
Oh, who
Got
doesn't
it.
want a huge contract?
And there's a lot of people that want big contracts right now. So, in that matter, do you sign who you had before? And who's out there for you to sign? It's the same thing with the Mets. All teams that didn't make the playoffs this year, are going to have that problem.
Yeah.
Who are they going to sign?
Mm-hmm. Are you out in the street? Hector,
Yes.
are you out in the street right now?
Yes. But go ahead.
Uh-huh. Well, anyway, the infield is a little bit unsettled. The major question is catcher. Who's going to be the everyday catcher next year? Is it going to be Gary Sanchez, or is it going to be Kyle Higashioka?
Okay.
Kyle Higashioka cannot hit the side of a barn. Sorry. He's a good defensive catcher, but he cannot hit a lick. Gary Sanchez, on the other hand, is a pretty decent hitter, but can't play a lick of defense. So I'm not really sure where the Yankees are going to go with this one. As far as the outfield, Aaron Judge looked really solid playing center field for several games last year. And he was going back and forth between center and right. Okay, what's going on your end sounds like what happened with me when I was...
I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said what was going on your end sounded like me when I was stuck in traffic on the highway.
Oh, no, I'm not on the highway. You kidding me? I'm going to a woman's house.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to have me a threesome.
Yeah.
That's right, baby.
I don't think so.
But first, they must be tested at all times for all diseases, and they must be vaccinated. See, I don't fool around.
No, you don't fool around because no one will fool around with you.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of greatness besides myself, the mighty Jets.
First of all, there's nothing about them that is even remotely mighty. The only thing that's mighty about them is that they're mighty terrible.
And why would you say that?
Have you seen any of the games that they've played this year?
Of course, but I'm asking you, why would you say that?
Outside of the Tennessee game, they've been god-awful.
Oh.
They can't protect their quarterback. They have no number one receiver. They don't have a running back. They get shredded defensively, especially on third downs.
Right.
There's nothing about them that makes them even remotely mighty. The only thing they are is mighty dreadful.
How did you say that? I mean, they're an up-and-coming team.
There's nothing up-and-coming about them.
Future, right?
There's nothing up-and-coming about them at all.
Telling us they have the quarterback of the future.
That's
Is that not
debatable
so?
right now.
Why is that debatable?
That's debatable right now because unfortunately he's
debatable.
been had a little case of the interceptions going on.
$5 on number 2. Yeah, I tried to use. Oh,
Are you playing the lottery?
25? Got it.
Okay, there is something going on Hector's end of the phone that we don't know what the hell is going on. Anyway, it's a good thing that the Jets had their bye week yesterday because
no, I'm trying to
we
figure
did
out
not
why.
need anything to try and make us hurl
I'll try
the
it
way the
one more time.
Giants made
Maybe
us
it's a
hurl
debit card.
yesterday when they got their heads handed to them by the Rams. That's another team that's been god awful for the first 6 weeks of the season. And it's not going to get any better because the Giants have Carolina coming up. And Carolina, they're coming off a really heartbreaking loss at home to Minnesota. Now Carolina is going to try and take it out on somebody, and that means the Giants. As far as the Jets are concerned,
Right now, who's? Do you see them? Since they keep on saying that this guy is the quarterback of the future, and everything else that you can think of. What is it about them that they're not doing right? I mean, this is what you wanted, right? This is what everybody wanted.
no, this is what everybody had to settle for. The Jets wanted Trevor Lawrence.
This is the quarterback that they wanted.
This is the quarterback that the Jets settled for. They really wanted Trevor Lawrence, but he's not doing so hot out in Jacksonville either. He won his first game yesterday.
Well, is it because he's doing very badly, or is it because the team is not playing well?
The team's just not playing well. There's just very few good players to speak about. I mean,
So is there hope? I mean, what's their record right now that you know?
Both the Jets and the Giants are. Let's see. I know the Giants are 1-5. I know the Jets are 1-4.
Who they beat?
Who did they beat?
Yeah.
The Giants only beat New Orleans, and the Jets beat Tennessee only.
So what does that say about Tennessee?
What does that say about Tennessee? It means that maybe Tennessee's not ready for a Super Bowl.
Well, you got a lot of things going on, and here's the thing. Next year, who do they draft now? This GM that the Jets have had.
You mean Joe Douglas?
How long has he been in there, and is he worth keeping?
I think he's had about.
Remember what I said before about him.
I think he's had about
the opportunity
3 years.
to sign big players, and he decided to go with, I'm just going to save money, and I'm going to just get players that will work. But they really didn't sign huge players. And secondly, the players that they did sign, they're out of action.
Mm-hmm.
So is it because the players are out of action that they're not doing well? Because now you have, let's say next year. Let's say next year. Who do you sign? And and who do you have left?
I couldn't even begin to tell you because we would have to see what the draft looks like near the end of the regular season because the college season is roughly halfway through. And this is the point where we start talking about national championships and bowl games. So we would have to see exactly what the mock drafts look like in order to see who would belong where. But I'll tell you right now, from what I've seen of these mock drafts, there's very, very little of these quarterbacks, college quarterbacks, that should be considered to be number one.
Well, what are you going to do? Draft another quarterback next year? And you get rid of Joe Douglas now? Because again, remember what happened?
He's not going anywhere because the Jets decided that he's going to be their guy who's going to run the show as far as the draft and free agency. Now, if he wants to keep his job, he's going to have to really get creative in 2022 because
Joe Douglas has to get creative.
He has to get really, really creative in 2022 when it comes to the draft.
Jamie, but think about it this way. This is a man that had a very good... He was under the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This man was under the salary cap, and he was able to sign players galore if he wanted to.
Yep.
The problem is, just like the Mets, just like San Diego, who wants to play for the Jets?
At this rate, nobody.
Unless you throw in a boatload of money at someone that they're young enough, because a lot of times you'll get the old folks that'll be good for a year or two, and then that's it. How many times has that happened where they've gotten older quarterbacks and even they don't do very well?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Brett Barr?
Who?
Was it Brett Barr? Remember the Jets signed a real hot quarterback for his time, and then when he went to the Jets, he was a horrible quarterback?
Are you talking about Brett Favre?
Who?
Brett Favre.
Yeah. That's what I mean. They sign these guys. It's supposed to be hot, but either they're at the end of their career or they're starting off. And most of the Jet quarterbacks, if you notice, that they have let go, Sanchez, and all the other ones, what have they done? Nothing.
Well, unfortunately, that's been their history.
Speak up.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, the problem lies with the Jets have either a jinx on them, because they've never, who was the last real good quarterback that they had?
The last really good quarterback that they had?
Besides Namath.
Well, there was...
and besides Ken O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien wasn't that great, first of all.
Oh, he used to throw them balls inside there. It was a hit or miss with him.
And the last the last good quarterback that they had.
Yeah, who was the last good quarterback that the Jets had?
It was either Vinny Testaverde or Chad Pennington.
And even with a decent quarterback like them two, they didn't do a damn thing.
No.
I mean, wait a minute. One of them didn't make the playoffs, didn't they? I think, was it with Pennington or was it with Testaverde?
Pennington made the playoffs 3 times. Testaverde made the playoffs 4 times. No, twice.
So this is my point. What is it about the Jets that they can't draft a real good quarterback?
It's scouting. They have the wrong scouts.
Even if they're number one, they still can't get it. It's like when the Knicks drafted Ken the Animal Bannister.
Oh, brother.
He went nuts. How many players did the Knicks draft? And look at Kenny Skywalker. After he won the dunk contest, that's when he settled down and he had to get hypnotized. He was going to a hypnotist and seeing a psychologist.
Yay. Sorry about that.
But,
my horn just went off on my phone. That was the horn just went off on my phone. I just got a Rangers score. The Rangers lead 1-0 over the Maple Leafs in the first period.
Oh, the horn went off on the Rangers? What happened?
They scored. They scored in the first period. Oh, brother. I forgot how old that was.
Do you think Joe Douglas has to go?
I would give him maybe 2 more years.
I wouldn't. Wait a minute. How many years has it been?
About 3?
3. It's time for him to go.
See, you have to...
It really is time for him to go because if you, again, he was under the salary cap. He signed good players that got hurt. I think 3 of the very good signings that he picked, all of them got hurt. Okay? So, after that, you're still under the salary cap. I still say they should have kept Davian Bell, but the coach before him didn't want him, and I think they wanted the salary cap. But then who do they sign? That say, okay, who is that exceptional player out there that they can sign? And they haven't signed that player yet. At least the Giants have Saquon Barkley. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the Jets player who's that Jets player that you can say he's the it guy?
The it guy?
You don't have that it guy on the Jets.
What it guy?
On the Giants, you have Saquon Barkley. He's your it guy.
Yeah, but their it guy has gotten hurt.
Yeah, but he still has produced. You get my point? He's a man that's produced, at least within the time frame that he's been on that team, he has produced. Tell me which Jet has produced with all the big signings. Who was their big signing? Again, there hasn't been not really a big, huge signing that you can say, oh, well, yeah, this guy was worth the money, and we're glad we signed him, and he flew. He gave us our money's worth. There hasn't been one guy yet that you can say that they just have signed that they've gotten their money's worth. So Douglas has to go, and the Giants GM, if they don't fire him, something's wrong with him too. If they have a 2-15 record, fire him. If they have a 3-15 record, you fire him.
Yeah, but don't you think that 2 or 3 years is is enough time to actually judge the guy? I mean, he hasn't really been given a shot.
If you want to give the Jets GM
one more year to see, okay, let's see how the guys that he signed this year come back next year and see who he signs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the problem. Let's see who he signs. If he signs at least one big name or two, his job is saved. If he doesn't sign a name, he's done. He's done. If you want to give him one more year, all right, I'll give him the extra year because the guys that he signed got hurt and everything else. Okay, great. All right, they're a young team. They're maturing. All right, no problem. But at least give me that one guy. Please. Give me that one guy that makes you want to see the Jets. Now, like the way the Giants have Saquon Barkley, even though he's been hurt, but when he does come back, that's something worth seeing, even though the Giants are disastrous.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants are another one that I don't know why they haven't fired that man either.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason,
I mean, what blackmail picture does he have?
John Mara has a strange faith in the guy.
I mean, loyalty is one thing, but Jesus, loyalty could only go so far. And if you're that loyal to the guy, just give him another position in the organization. And again, you have who wants to coach who wants to be the GM or the coach of the Giants or the Jets? You're not going to fire the coach this year. That's a given. But who wants to be the GM of the Jets?
Well, the Jets already have a GM, so that question.
And who's out there? Who's out there that you can say, yeah, he's going to fix it, he's going to bring in players? Because remember, the guy that you pick as a GM, you're hoping that a star player will come and say, look, this guy's going to do something with the team. I trust him. That's what I'm going to play for. Just like a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, who's out there that you're willing to go and say, all right, he's worth it?
I couldn't even begin to tell you, to be honest with you. By the way, an article just got released literally minutes ago about the Mets search for a general manager or for a president of baseball operations. Now that Theo Epstein and Billy Beane both turned down the job, they're looking at guys like Scott Harris from the Giants and Mike Chernoff from the Indians as potential impact guys.
So you're saying that the guy from the Cleveland Browns?
No, Hector was talking about the Mets, not the Jets.
Oh, the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Again, who do you... I mean, the thing is, who wants to play for these teams? Who wants to manage these teams? Who wants to be the GMs for the team? Unless you're one of these guys that really wants to coach or manage or GM a team.
I'll tell you right now, there is a line of players who would have no problem wanting to put on the pinstripes of the Yankees.
Oh, well, with the Yankees, you see, that's the thing. With the Yankees, is a little different because you have the Met fans out there that will say, well, damn, I forgot something. It's because of the reason why. Though, I mean, if they were thinking of in an article that was requiring classes, and I'm going, all right, well then, fire him. What do you have?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have for the Jets? I mean, you know somebody's gonna want to at least play. I mean, want to do it for the Yankees, because when you see that lineup, that's a hell of a lineup. They have something there that you to play with.
Right.
Now, the problem is they're not doing what the paper's telling them. The paper's saying that these are hitters that should be knocking the ball left and right and everything else. On paper.
Right.
On paper, they're fantastic. But in person, but they've won. That organization shows that they won. They're a winning team. If there was a GM out there and a manager that, let's say, won for the Mets, he'd be king of New York. The same way, you still remember Gooden, Strawberry, Hernandez, Carter, the coach. You remember all those guys.
Yeah.
And they still praise to this day, no matter what happened in their life, because they remember the player. Bathroom? Yeah. You got to ask.
It's a good point. I like to think that the one guy on the Mets that everybody wants to see is Peter Alonso, who already has had 2 out of 3 dynamic seasons for the Mets.
But is he worth as a coach, as a GM? That's what I'm getting at. Who? These are the problems at the Mets, Jets.
Yeah, they were having to front now, but I'll send somebody over.
Thank you. The problem is, who wants to play? It's like what we say about. Here's the name. Here's I'm going to name the teams for you. Who wants to play for the Mets, Jets, Giants, and Knicks? What major stars want to play for these teams? And at this point in time, the only one that's ahead of the team that I mentioned is the Knicks.
There's no superstar.
They're right now. No, forget Dolan.
I'm serious. There is no superstar with even a quarter of a brain that would want to play for the Knicks right now. Sorry, but Kemba Walker is not a superstar.
Yeah.
He's a good player who unfortunately has had some knee injuries in the past.
Who?
Kemba Walker.
Oh, Kemba Walker. No, well, damn. Yeah, but here's the thing: you have a guy, right? You have a guy, right? That Kemba Walker, his knee. You have Kemba Walker's knee. You have Derrick Rose's knee, right? Now, let's say they make it into the second round of the playoffs, right?
I'll be stunned.
Like, let's say they make it in the second round of the playoffs. You don't think that there's going to be someone out there going, the East is not that hot right now and anybody can win?
and maybe a Zion Williamson, or maybe because they're going for Damian Lillard. They're waiting for Damian Lillard to come out. And how much are you going to give up for him? You know, how many players do you give up for Damian Lillard? You know? And that's the
How
thing.
about how
Remember,
many players and how
because
many
remember,
draft picks would you give up for Damian
Look at the
Lillard?
way the Nets. Look at the way the Nets did it. Tell me one player that doesn't want to play for the Nets right now.
I can't think of anybody.
Exactly, because they have all-star players. Tell me one player that doesn't want to play for the Lakers right now.
Well, I can't think of anybody.
Exactly. That's my point. You always want to go to either two types of teams. One that's already built to win, or one that's an up-and-coming star. And the Knicks, the way they're going, if they show promise this year, and let's say they go to the second round, or they battle up to the fifth game,
Mm-hmm.
if they're showing improvement, and then some guy will say, well, maybe if I was on that team, I can get him over the hump. Because remember something. We still remember Willis Reed, Clyde Frazier. Still remember Patrick Ewing. We still remember Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason. And they just went to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember Clyde, Willis, the Butcher, you got all them people that you still remember to this day, and the Kings of New York.
See, that's the problem. There's a
Don't
large...
you think that a player wants to be the king? Don't you think, like the way Kevin Durant wants to be the king of Brooklyn? And the other thing that you have to consider is right now, you have Kyrie Irving.
Oh, please.
And-
You don't
and
not
some
want to
other
get me
players-
started on what this idiot has been doing right now.
And he's getting fined. And here's what they have to look forward to in the next basketball association meetings.
Mm-hmm.
That is getting the shot, and also people like Ben Simmons that have, let's say, 4 years on their contract, but they're forced. They want to force the team to trade him. And I'm going the way James Harden did. James Harden said that if you don't trade me to certain player, to a certain team, I'm not playing. And then if you try to take their salary away, then the association is going, you can't do that. If you sign a multi-year contract, let's say a Ben Simmons signed a multi-year contract, and they're dogging you on the second year of his contract, out of his 5-year contract, and you're saying, I don't want to play for you guys now, but you signed the contract. Whether you like it or not, you still have to play there. This is what I mean about players. God forbid if a LeBron James did that. They would be falling over going, oh, LeBron, come back. No. We'll fix it. Don't worry, we'll fix it. But this is Ben Simmons, and James Harden did the same thing. People are forcing other teams to get max contracts and then afterwards get traded because they get a bonus out of it and so on. This is the things that the basketball associations have to deal with now. Plus, people not wanting to get their shots because Kyrie Irving right now is going to miss a lot of games.
Yeah, because of his own
Kyrie
selfishness.
Irving is getting fined. Now the basketball association is going to say, no, don't fine him. But if he's hurting your team, if a player, that's like you saying, you know what, I'm on strike right now. It's like what happened with the air traffic controllers. Look how fast Reagan got rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just an ordinary job.
Yeah.
Strong union, but didn't hold two candles. The point is, when it comes to unions, there are people that strong arm the unions. And you need unions. If they're good unions, you need them. But I'm more of a fair person where, let's say, a Kyrie Irving. What do you do with a Kyrie Irving that doesn't want to get his shots? He says, but it's unfair to fine me, and you can't play in the home games because New York State says that you have to be vaccinated to do that. I mean, for school, you have to be vaccinated for everything in order for you to go to school and college.
Yeah.
Now, if this was mandatory, they don't stand a chance. But since it's not, but it's starting to become more and more mandatory because it's getting into the government and it's getting into certain places. Even Fox News, as much as they've been bastardized about vaccination, if you check, all them people have to be vaccinated to work there, and they get tested.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a person like Kyrie Irving that the Basketball Association is going, well, I don't think you should fine him and blah, 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 blah. And what do you do with a guy like Ben Simmons? If he comes back, he's going to negotiate where if I come back, I shouldn't have to pay the fine. So what do you do with a guy like Ben Simmons? You know what? You're stuck here. You play now because you signed a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening. Same way James Harden did it. And you have all these people, like I said, they're signing for max contracts, some of them. And then they go, you know what, I'm up and then leaving. Or they're saying, I have 5 years of my contract. I've only played 2 years. But you treated me so unfairly, I want you to get rid of me. And if they haven't been able to get their worth, then you either come back or you lose money. You get fined because you're not going to your job. If it was a regular job, you would lose money.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? You tell me, what do you do with a Ben Simmons or a Kyrie Irving? What do you do with people like that?
I wish I could answer that, but we only have a minute left. Well,
Oh, I'm sorry if I spoke too much, but it's a hot question because
it is a hot question.
But next
and it's
time
something
we'll
that
talk about
needs
it.
to be answered next week.
Yes, same bad time, same bad channel.
Yep. Thanks to Kenny Graham on the other side of the glass, and thanks to you guys at home for watching, and thanks to you, Hector, for checking us out over the phone.
And remember, don't forget to announce me as the great one next week.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's in my contract.
Then I would make like Ben Simmons and do something to try and get out of that contract. Anyway, for everyone here, I'm Jamie.
I'm Hector.
We will see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Night-night.